up? My name is Mereba, and today I'm going to talk about my 5 most classic albums that I have in rotation. So first of all, classic to me it means timeless, meaning any time in your life that you find this music, you can put yourself in the position of the people who made it, the person who made it. You can feel where they were, what was going on, but also it still relates to you and everything happening in your modern life and your modern time. So I love music that is spiritual and music that is, I won't say political, but that is not afraid to touch on the way that life is for our people, for the people, whenever it's created. So I'm really into that type of music. So I just preface it to say, all of these albums help speak to the human experience, and I really love that, and I need that to consider something classic. So the first one I'm gonna say probably had the biggest influence on little me when I was a kid. This album really helped to define a generation of young women, and that is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. What can I say about it other than the way that she wove singing, rapping, incredible, regal, like mighty production with her stories, and her stories talked about like love, interpersonal relationships, but she also spoke to just the struggle of what, Black people have been experiencing in the world, our history. I mean, she touched on so many different topics in that one album. It's just legendary. So that's definitely one of my top most classic albums. Number 2 is, I was just listening to this album the other day when I was walking around my neighborhood, and honestly I got a little emotional. I was a little sad that the words that he was singing were still so relatable, almost eerily so. And that's What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. That's an album that, it's very much a political album. It's a protest album. And the song that is the same title, What's Going On, which is kind of the centerpiece of the album, is really asking, like, what is happening? Which I found myself asking almost every day. And just the way that he paints pictures and the way that he sets the scene of what's really happening on the ground level of like the human experience throughout that album. It's very spiritual. It's a religious experience listening to that album. So that's definitely up there. The third one is also a protest album, and it's from one of my favorite artists, and an artist that had a really big influence on me when I was in high school, because I was discovering protest music at that time. And it's an album by Bob Dylan, and it's called The Times They Are Changing. And I remember I painted the lyrics of a song from that album, which is called The Times They Are Changing, on the walls of my bedroom in high school, because they were just so powerful, like the lyrics, and look them up if you get a chance. It's really just a song about progression and about making room, the old making room for the new, making room for the youth, making room for new voices and perspectives, for progressive ways of thinking. And I feel like that relates a lot to the times that we're living in now. So yeah, I would include him on any list of classic albums, because that one opened my eyes to the power of like what you can say in a song. And it doesn't always have to sound pretty, Number 4 is probably my favorite album of all time, if I had to choose, which I don't have to choose, so I'm not about to choose, but if I had to, this would probably be my favorite, and it's Inner Visions by Stevie Wonder. So clearly I'm kind of into music that comes from a certain time period, and I think that was a very potent time period in our history. It was when music was really about human evolution, you know what I mean? Like, in a real way, like, it was about spiritual awakening, and Inner Visions is an album that is about the vision that Stevie Wonder, who did not have his sight, had for the world, and it was so powerful and so in tune. And I have so many favorites from that, but the song itself called Visions on that album is just, it could bring me to tears when I listen to it, because I have such similar visions of like this perfect utopia that I imagine we could be living in, if not for ego, if not for greed, if not for just control and power that people are seeking, instead of love and awareness and, you know, unity. So anyway, let me not get too deep into that, but Inner Visions is just top to bottom one of the most sonically incredible albums that I've ever heard. There's a range of every type of genre and style, and it was produced by Stevie Wonder himself, and he inspired me to produce my own music. And on my debut album I released last year, I was the executive producer, and I have him to thank in a lot of ways for empowering me and giving me the confidence to take that route as an artist, of really finding your own sonic voice, you know. So that's number 4, and the last one, I'm gonna bring it into these times, and I'm gonna give the album of one of my favorite artists of our time, and that's Channel Orange by Frank Ocean, because that album, it really shook me out of kind of where things were at that time musically, and it gave me so much hope, because in Frank Ocean we found a new storyteller, someone who, like the people I've named, found ways to weave very complex situations in life that you go through, whether it's through relationships or your experience as like whatever your identity is and how that works relative to the rest of the world. Like, he is just a masterful storyteller, and the way that he paints pictures with his words, the way that you can like see yourself in his very specific life experiences is just an art form in and of itself. So I just adore him and his music, and Channel Orange is definitely a new classic. Yeah, those are my 5 most classic albums. I've been listening to all of them during these very interesting times that we're living through. I recommend them, and I'm just grateful that they exist. And like I said, my name is Mereba, and those are 5 classic things that I hold